Hey, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Cinema Heroes. I'm Justin Speck.
Hey, Stu.
And today we're talking about Jurassic World, Fallen Kingdom. Released in 2017, directed by J.A. Bayona, written by Derek Connolly and Colin Trevorrow, and starring Chris Pratt, Bryce Dallas Howard, Rafe Spall, Toby Jones, Ted Levine, B.D. Wong, and Jeff Goldblum in a pretty much just a cameo. This was the follow-up, of course, to 2015's Jurassic World, which Stu and I talked about and enjoyed. Actually had a fun time watching that one. Rewatching this one? Well, I'll tell you what.
Much.
Yeah, exactly. I was going to say, I saw this in the theater and walked out of it going, okay. You know, I was just kind of disappointed. It just didn't, I don't remember it doing much for me. I had not watched it again until after you and I talked about Jurassic World. I finally decided to give it a rewatch. And I actually texted you when I was watching it. I was like, the beginning of this movie is not so bad. And then once they get off the island, things just go downhill real fast. What about you? I'm assuming you saw this in the theater.
I did. I saw it in the theater. I saw it. I don't think I saw it opening weekend, but I definitely saw it opening week. And I remember having a very not so great taste in my mouth.
Right.
After watching it. And I remember being, I wouldn't say very disappointed, but disappointed enough to the point where I wouldn't suggest this movie to a Jurassic Park fan.
No.
And our buddy Alex had seen it a little while after I did. And he was like, "Man, I really enjoyed that one. I liked it. I liked it better than Jurassic World." I was like, "You sure?"
You sure about that?
But watching it this time, I became more frustrated. This is the fourth time I think I've seen third or fourth time that I've seen this movie. I think four. And the other two times that I watched it after the theater was because I was watching it with my mother, who is a huge Jurassic Park fan. She loves this movie. She likes all of them but Dominion. But we'll get into that once we get to Dominion.
Close.
But yeah, this movie definitely frustrated me tremendously on this last rewatch, and it was for a lot of the same reasons, but because I'm getting a little bit more into screenwriting and story structure and stuff like that. I started like seeing the structural problems with it, and like I could actually pinpoint exactly why it made me mad. Like I can tell you the exact moment that I was done with this movie.
Nice. Well, I'm looking forward to that.
Oh yeah, I'm looking forward to it too. Before we started recording, I told you these were the most notes that I had ever taken on a movie since I had joined the Cinema Heroes podcast.
Yeah. And I took a couple notes, but not that many. I took, like 5. So I'm very excited to hear what you have to say about this movie, although I have a feeling it's going to be not a lot of positive. Not that my notes are positive, but I'm just saying.
Now, don't get me wrong. There are some things that I like about this movie, and I did write them down, but they get pooped all over swiftly.
Swiftly, yes. Well, on a positive note, one of the things I do like about this movie is the opening scene. I think the opening scene is actually kind of fun.
Yes, That's the first note that I wrote down. I was like, yo, this is very reminiscent of the first one. It feels a bit hokey
Yeah.
and kind of uh corny, but the look of it was very, very much like Jurassic Park.
Yeah, I agree with the storm and everything. It,
Yes.
it it reminded me of Nedry trying to get off the island
Yeah.
and and getting lost and all that stuff. And so that guy who's the guy that says he's I'm kind of exposed out here. That's exactly kind of what I was thinking. Is
Mhm.
the way the storm was hitting Isla Nublar and everything. It did feel very reminiscent of the first film. And when the T-Rex shows up, I thought it looked really good. And when the T-Rex is grabbing the ladder and I liked all that. And even when the Mosasaurus or whatever it's called comes out of the water and ends up eating the guy, um, I thought it was a good opening scene. It actually, you know, seeing that in the theater, I do think I actually kind of remember having the thought, okay, all right, maybe this will be, maybe this will be all right. And then, nope, didn't.
But that's the thing. There were several moments in the first like 50 minutes where I was like, oh, okay, I'm rolling with this.
Yeah,
And like I said, it swiftly takes a
yeah,
turn for the worse.
yeah.
But yeah, I feel very similarly to how you feel about the opening sequence. It was like I said, very reminiscent of the first one, a bit predictable.
Yes,
You
but exciting though, nonetheless. I think.
yeah, it was predictable, but still exciting. And again, I agree. It looked very good. Like the composition of it was good, and like I watched it on 4K, and this 4K is fantastic.
Nice.
I wish the movie could match the
Right,
quality
right.
of the 4K, but as many problems as I have with this movie, the visuals, the visual aspect is on point. That's
Nice.
one of the positives.
Nice. I didn't watch it on 4K this time around. I had to kind of fit it in when I could, so I pretty much I watched my digital copy, but I will have to pop the 4K in, maybe just to watch the opening scene and then take it out.
Just watch the opening scene and watch up until about minute 50
Yeah,
and
and then
take it out.
say that's done. That's the end of the movie. Let me go into my first note that I wrote because it's pretty much here's the premise of the film real quick. Uh the park has been abandoned, obviously, after the events of Jurassic World. The newscaster even says, like, the owners of Jurassic World have shelled out millions of dollars to, the people who were there and settlements and stuff like that. And so now, though, there's an active volcano on Isla Nublar that is, basically threatening to wipe out all of the dinosaurs on the island, which would then make the animals extinct again. And so there's a group of people who think that, the U.S. government should do something to save the animals. And then there's another group of people who think, and Jeff Goldblum's Ian Malcolm is one of these, thinks that, you know what? Maybe we shouldn't interfere and just have this kind of be the course correction.
Yes, yes.
And so Claire, played by Bryce Dallas Howard, is a part of this group who wants to save the dinosaurs. And it feels like, this was my note, she feels like she's a different character from the first film. She
Agree.
was she was basically, she kind of ran the park. She was all about profits and creating new dinosaurs to bring in new customers. And now she's like an environmentalist. And it felt very different. And granted,
Yes.
when she meets Lockwood, they talk about how they're kind of paying for their sins or something like that. And
Mm-hmm.
so there is that little mention of, okay, this is who you used to be, and you're trying to kind of redeem yourself essentially for it. But it felt right off the bat, it just felt like it was supposed to be a different character or something. And they were like, well, we got to bring Bryce Dallas Howard back. And so they just made it Claire. It just felt very off to me.
So I agree with everything that you've said. But I want to go back a little bit.
Okay.
So when when you explaining the premise, it took me right to my first note, which is there is a very good movie buried inside of this movie. And one of the things I noted was that it feels like one, the pacing is off. It Things are happening too fast. And it feels like that because from what I gather, it feels like there are two movies inside of this movie.
Yeah.
Like the first 45, 50 minutes could be its own movie. And then maybe the last, I wouldn't say half because it's more than half, but
Right.
maybe the
But pretty
last half
much.
it's its own story. I don't know if it could have been its own movie, but it's
Right.
definitely it's a completely separate story
Yeah.
from the first part of the movie with the volcano. And I see these little nuggets. I was like, yo, I like that. I like that choice. I like that choice. I like that they did that. And going back to what you said with Claire, I like what they did with Claire. I like that she feels different. I like that and she and Lockwood, who we'll get to in a second, but I like that they are kind of trying to atone for their sins.
Right.
But the problem is it's crammed into less than an hour, and we don't really we don't really feel that change in Claire.
Right.
The change in her is so abrupt because the pacing is so off.
Yeah.
They didn't give it time to they didn't give her character time to really transition. And I think one of the other problems is other than pacing is the tone. There's a very like serious type of like environmentalist type theme in this movie, but it's buried inside of a light comedic adventure tone, which feels weird. Even though Jurassic World was lighter in comparison to the other Jurassic Park movies, it didn't go too far off into the deep end tonally. I feel like Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom is it doesn't know what kind of movie it wants to be.
Yeah.
It feels like there were conflicting ideas, and we'll get to it in a second, but it gets to a certain point and it's like, how did Steven Spielberg and Colin Trevorrow allow this to happen? And he was one of the writers on the movie. I'm like, what
Yeah.
in the world were you thinking? But yeah, it feels like two different movies. It crammed into one, and it feels uh very convoluted. Like I said, the thing that's most frustrating about it is that those little nuggets of good
Yeah.
story and good ideas
Mm-hmm.
that they just didn't expand on and tried to cover it up with other bad ideas, and it's incredibly frustrating.
Yeah, I hear you. It does feel like two different movies, and it's like what you said. The second half is also how I feel about the first half. The second half doesn't feel like it could be its own movie, but
Mm-hmm.
it's its own story, and that's how the first half is. Like, I don't know if the first half would be enough to be its own movie of this group going to get dinosaurs off this island, but it just feels so much different than the second half of the film.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it's really, really kind of bizarre, and which is it's also interesting to me that you know I think the general consensus of The Lost World is that it's not a good sequel. I personally really like it, but I think most audiences and I wouldn't be surprised if Colin Trevorrow and stuff don't think it's very good, right?
Mm-hmm.
This movie has so many similarities to The Lost World.
Mm-hmm.
Uh Now in The Lost World it's a different island and they are going to save a person rather than save the dinosaurs. Ian Malcolm and his crew are going to get Sarah to get her off the island, but they still are going they're going back to a place where there are dinosaurs. This other group secretly is trying to get the dinosaurs off the island, which is exactly what happens in this movie. But The Lost World, in my opinion, does it better because that's most of the movie is them on the island and dealing
Agreed.
with the dinosaurs on the island and everything. And then in The Lost World, the people who are getting the animals off the island is because they want to open up Jurassic Park on the in San Diego. And then this movie does it a little differently. They're not trying to build their own park. They're trying to sell off dinosaurs to the highest bidder.
Black
But it's
market.
just
Yeah.
but then the dinosaurs get out into the wild, which is exactly what happens in The Lost World. The T-Rex goes on a rampage through San Diego. It's interesting how there's these similarities. There's also like the hunter, in The Lost World, and that's Ted Levine in this one,
Mm-hmm.
and in The Lost World he wants like a T-Rex as his like prize, and this guy just takes teeth out of the dinosaurs to wear as a necklace. He even says it like, this will be great for my necklace, and I'm like, what? Okay, whatever. So anyway, it's just interesting to me that they made a sequel to Jurassic World that has so many similarities to The Lost World when The Lost World is considered to not be a great movie. And I don't know if they thought, hey, we can improve upon The Lost World, and they fell very short, or I don't know. I'm not sure.
Well, see, here's the thing. I don't dislike the Lost World, but I don't necessarily like it. Like I like it, but it's to me it's a barely competent film.
Sure.
And I think what the Lost World does better than Fallen Kingdom is tone
Uh-huh.
and theme. Fallen Kingdom does not really adhere to any particular like themes. Like it does, but it barely scratches the surface and it feels kind of superficial. And I think it feels superficial because of that light tone. If they had went deeper with the environmentalist thing and deeper with the what's the word I'm looking for? Um, atoning for your sins,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
it would have made a much better movie. Um, especially in the first half and especially with Claire. I would have loved to have seen a scene, with her and Owen and maybe what's I can't remember her name, but she works with Claire.
The veterinarian,
Uh,
the paleo veterinarian or whatever.
yeah, the paleo veterinarian. I would have loved to have had a scene with them, um, talking about those environmentalist themes and talking about atoning for your sins and why Claire feels so different from the first movie, but they just don't do that, and they just make all these ridiculous decisions after making, like, they have all these good ideas, but it's ruined by convoluted ideas. One of the comments on IMDb said that this movie was Preposterosaurus Rex, and I could not agree more.
That's great.
Um,
Zia is that girl's name. I looked her up.
yeah.
That's the character's name, Zia.
Okay. Okay.
And I like that actress. I don't totally like the character. She's
She's
introduced kind of weird where like,
unnecessary.
well, unnecessary, yeah. She's like the only one that I mean, what does she do? Give a T-Rex a blood transfusions? Like Owen could have
Okay.
done that and I would have found it totally believable. You know what I mean?
Right. Oh, we gonna
Uh
we definitely gonna get to the believability for sure.
okay. But I just also like her character just kind of comes across as what's the word when like she just thinks she's better than everybody, you know?
Righteous.
Um yeah. I mean, I get that even from when we're first introduced to her and Franklin turns around and says something, she was on the phone and it didn't go well and Franklin turns around and says something to her and she's like, "What do you do? Plug things in?" It's just like she's rude to even her friends. It's just
Yeah.
kind of weird. So yeah, I didn't love that character right off the bat. And like you said, I think she's also kind of unnecessary.
Yeah,
Franklin,
for
I think,
sure.
is only in this film to be comedic relief, and
Uh,
it's because of just how scared he is of everything. I guess he's also kind
just
of useless.
Justice Smith's character, he
Yeah,
he is so annoying and so useless. All
yeah.
he does is scream.
Again,
Um,
why did he even come? Like, it's this is a dangerous expedition. The
mhm,
only reason that Claire's really going is because they need her handprint to reestablish the connection with like the links in the dinosaurs or whatever, so they can like figure out where the dinosaurs are.
mhm.
Owen is there because they're trying to capture Blue. They're trying to get Blue off the island, and Blue's Owen is the only person that Blue would somewhat trust. There, and I guess you can argue that that's why Zia is along because she's a paleo veterinarian or whatever. Why is Justice Smith there? Why is Franklin on this? Like, why did they even think to bring him?
The world may never know.
It makes absolutely no sense, other than
Absolutely
the
no
fact
sense.
that he's just going to scream the whole time. And yeah, I don't know. I mean, even his character, it's out of his character to even agree to come because, like, when they're in I can't remember if it's on the plane or when they're in a truck when they finally get to the island. But he's asking about the T-Rex. He's like, the T-Rex is definitely dead, right? And the paleo veterinarian Zia, she's, saying, well, we can't know because blah, 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 blah. And he's like, so she's dead, right? And it's just, why is he there? Like, why did he come along?
Like you said, to provide comedic relief. But the thing about comedic relief is that you have to be funny, and it just wasn't
Right.
funny.
Right. Yeah.
It was just annoying. But going back to Preposterosaurus Rex,
Yes.
I had written down three red flags that this movie is was well, two red flags and a nail in the coffin.
Okay.
The first red flag, Lockwood. I hate the Lockwood retcon. He is only there to set up the plot twist with Maisie. That is
Right.
the only reason he is there.
Yeah.
That's the first red flag. The second one, which can be seen as a little bit of a nitpick, but it's so ridiculous that it offends me. Owen outran a volcano.
Yes, that's also true. Well, yeah.
Come on, man. Come on. Outrunning a volcano,
Yeah.
like fire, the sky is literally falling. And you cannot tell me that a human being can outrun an active exploding volcano. Like lava
Right.
is
Right.
inches away from him. There's no way that they wouldn't there's no way that they wouldn't have died that day.
Right. Right. I think I don't know if it's more egregious, but following along those same lines, the scene that makes me just roll my eyes harder than I think is even possible is the part where he's been like shot with the tranquilizer.
Yeah,
and he's
yeah.
rolling away from the lava. He's
Yes.
literally like you said, inches away from the lava, and he's just like rolling away. And he gets on the other side of a log, and he's safe. You're just like, what?
let's say the lava didn't touch him, right? Let's just say that for sake of argument. The lava is so hot, it's popping and boiling. Like he would have still been burned by those little lava bubbles. So that's ridiculous.
Yes.
Also, you wouldn't have been able to see anything because when a volcano explodes, it's black smoke. You can't see anything.
Yep.
So those are two reasons that makes this movie Preposterosaurus Rex.
Yes.
And
what's
now,
the nail in the coffin?
The nail in the coffin, the precise moment that I was officially done with the movie.
Yeah.
At 1 hour, 33 minutes, and 45 seconds in.
Okay.
When they revealed that Maisie was a dinosaur clone. Right. I was like, I am done with this movie. Let's wrap this thing up, because at that very moment, that is when the franchise died.
Yeah.
Moment of silence for
the Jurassic Park franchise.
Jurassic Park franchise.
Yes.
I was like, you have taken all the intelligence and the Michael Crichton-ness out of the movie,
out of the film. Yeah.
And now it is a Saturday morning cartoon.
Right. I'm Michael Crichton passed away back in 2008. I wonder if I'm sure he would have been sitting there counting his money and looked up and been like, yeah, whatever. But I wonder if he would have just been sad about this movie.
Absolutely. I know he would have. Michael Crichton is one of the best writers of the century, and it's to see where they took his work is incredibly frustrating, because we've said it several times before and it still rings true. Jurassic Park is one of the greatest movies ever made. And they made a bunch of unnecessary sequels, even though I really liked Jurassic World, the first Jurassic World.
Yeah.
It was unnecessary.
Yeah.
But to be so disrespectful to the franchise and to just go like completely like I don't even know the word for it. Like I want to say like pulp sci-fi, but it's not quite pulp, but it's just so, again, it's preposterous.
Right.
Like it's just ridiculous decision after ridiculous decision.
Yeah.
And like I said, the thing that frustrates me the most about it is that there is a good movie inside of this movie. Yeah. And it's as if they purposely made a bad movie. Just in those last like 30 seconds that I was talking, my score went down like half a star.
I haven't even thought about what my score is going to be. Ooh, geez, I'll have to think about that while we're still talking about the movie. Here's a small note. Like you said, how you said there was nuggets of things you liked in this film?
Yeah.
This was a small nugget of something that I kind of liked, and it was when Owen first comes into contact with Blue. It's at the site where Tim and Alan fell out of the tree in the first film. That upside down Jurassic Park car is, it was the tree that they were. So they were very close to the original.
Was it the biosphere, or was it?
No, it was the actual green Ford Explorer. From the first Jurassic Park.
From the first Jurassic. Okay, I was thinking Jurassic World for some reason.
Yeah. No. Yeah. So they were near the T-Rex paddock from the first film, but it was just cool to see kind of that, like the car was still there, by the tree. And then of course it gets destroyed by lava, but it was just, I kind of like that. It was a little Easter egg, I guess you could say, of the first film, but that, I mean, it was a small nugget of, it was one of those, oh, that's cool, and then 2 seconds later it's ruined by Owen crawling away from lava.
Oh man, again, it's just so ridiculous to the point that it is offensive.
Yeah. Now they're I'm watching them. I've got the movie playing, and now they're at the gyrosphere, and they're running away. All the dinosaurs are running away from the volcano. They're running away from the volcano.
Yeah, that's the best
And
part of the movie. When the volcano explodes, that's the aside from them outrunning the volcano.
Right.
That is where the movie literally blows its load. I truly believe that the first 50 minutes really could have been its own movie. And like you spend the first half like kind of setting up the themes and the character motivation, because Claire, because she's changed so much from the first movie, she should have been the protagonist of this movie.
Right. Yeah.
Because what I would have done, I would have uh established Claire's change from the first movie, and then the midpoint would have been them arriving to the island. And then, the third act begins, and that's when the volcano actually like explodes.
Right.
And it would like there would be like constant uh conflict between Claire and Owen, because I would have kind of I would have made the tone much more serious and kind of treated Owen like uh like Logan, like Wolverine or something, like kind of, yeah, just I'm done with the world, or at least Jurassic World. Like I
Right.
never want to see a dinosaur ever again. I didn't want to do it in the first place.
Yeah.
I was only trying to keep people safe the first time. Now that the park is over and people have been eaten, I don't ever want to see a dinosaur ever again. And so
Right.
he would be like this kind of uh old, not old, but he would, the events of Jurassic World would have changed him as well. It would have
Right. Yeah.
changed
Yeah.
Claire, and it would have changed him, which would have created a great dynamic between the two, because
Yeah.
she is dead set on getting to the island to save these dinosaurs, and he is 100% against it. And the only reason he comes would be to ensure her safety.
Right. Right.
That would be a great setup to get to the island.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
And then you wouldn't have had any of that stupid stuff with the selling off the dinosaurs to the highest bidder and this weird black market thing at the Lockwood Estate and all that stuff.
again, that didn't like the whole dinosaur black market thing, that didn't bother me. What bothered me was how they handled it. How they
Right.
handled it. It literally felt like a plot to a Jurassic Park cartoon. Like it was like you know that the Netflix cartoon Camp Cretaceous.
Yeah. Yeah.
It felt like watching an episode of Camp Cretaceous. I'm like, and I looked at my wife. I was like, yo, if this was a cartoon, this would actually be good. But because it's live action and I'm supposed to be taking it seriously, it is
Yeah.
seriously offending me.
I like how passionate you are about this. It's fun to listen to you. As sad as it is, I do like when they get off the island and you see that Brachiosaurus who's like, "You left me behind," and it gets blown up by the volcano.
Yeah, yeah. I do
Michael
like that one
Giacchino does a good
scene.
job with the score there.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Before I get to the score, going back to the Brachiosaurus, when what's the chick's name that I can't
Zia,
remember? Via?
Zia,
Zia. Okay.
yeah,
Um, her when she sees the Brachiosaurus for the first time, that again, that was a callback to the first one.
yeah,
That one small scene right there was
was
pretty good
nice.
because she
Yeah,
is in such awe. She's like,
yeah,
I never thought that I would see one of these.
yeah,
I like that, but then again, they quickly ruin it with other ridiculous uh decisions in tone and story structure. Um, it's very frustrating to see so many good moments ruined.
yeah. No, I agree. I do like that scene with Zia. She's almost brought to tears from seeing the
Mhm.
Brachiosaurus, and that's pretty. And I can you can understand that. I think it would be a kind of a majestic sight to see a Brachiosaurus in real life, and so that was cool. But
Imagine that scene in the proper context, like the proper tone. Imagine
yeah,
if
yeah,
most of the movie felt like that one scene. It'd be a way better movie.
yeah. I think you're right. I think the tone is all over the place because
It really, the movie has no identity. It doesn't know what kind of movie it wants to be.
right. It's like borderline slapstick silly at times, and then at other times it's wanting you to take it seriously, but then at other times it's yeah, it's like other times it wants to be kind of a horror film, but then it's yeah, it doesn't know what it wants to be.
And that's the thing. I think that the Jurassic Park had a perfect tonal balance. If you were to tell me like with a straight face Jurassic Park is a horror movie, I'm like, yes. Yes, it is. If you if you were to tell me that Jurassic Park is a family adventure, I would say yes. Yes, it
Okay.
is. It is perfectly tonally balanced and it takes itself seriously enough thematically without completely taking you out of the spectacle of the dinosaurs. It makes sure that the dinosaurs are majestic but also threatening.
Yeah.
In this movie, the dinosaurs don't feel threatening. Even the Endoraptor feels so cartoony, especially when he smiles
Yeah.
at Ted Levine.
Yep.
And you know what that reminded me of? It reminded me of Jurassic Park 3, which is probably the most egregious moment in that movie was when the raptor talked to Alan in
Right.
that dream. I was like,
Right.
did like what
And
like
that was a dream at least.
you are calling yeah, that was a dream at least, but it was still bad. I'm like,
It
you are
was. It
calling
was.
back to one of the worst moments in the franchise.
Yeah.
Why are you doing that?
I that's so when Ted Levine comes into the Indoraptor's cage and starts to try to take out its tooth, that is probably my least favorite scene in the movie. I know that the Maisie thing is when you were done with the film, but seeing the Indoraptor's tail go up and Ted Levine looks behind him, and then the Indoraptor opens its eye and is like, and then closes his eye when Ted Levine turns around. It's just that is Saturday morning cartoon. That was just awful. I hated it. I don't even really like. We talked about the Indominus Rex and how we kind of like the Indominus Rex. There's this whole argument that why are we creating new dinosaurs? Dinosaurs are wow enough. That's what they say in the first Jurassic
Yes.
World.
Yes, a great
And then
thematic argument.
right, right. Then in this movie, we've created yet a new dinosaur, the Indoraptor, and I don't like it.
I don't like the Indoraptor at all.
No,
They're doing the same thing, but they're not making it better. They're making it
Right.
worse.
Right.
You already had a dinosaur that was mixed with a raptor. So you're gonna take that same dinosaur and mix it with raptor again? It's
And
redundant.
call it an Indoraptor. Yeah, it's like
Yeah.
it's almost like the even though Colin Trevorrow is a writer on this film, it's almost like they didn't watch the first one when
Yeah.
they wrote the script for this one.
Hey, let's take the raptor hybrid and make it more raptory.
Right, right, exactly. And even smarter and I don't know. It's just it's kind of, I
Feels
because I
scary.
didn't say what?
The Indoraptor didn't feel scary.
No, and that's what I was about to say. It's like because I wasn't a fan of the Indoraptor basically from its introduction, the rest of the movie just felt not that I don't want to say boring, but it just was kind of boring because I just didn't care about this dinosaur. I wasn't, scared of it, I guess you could say. And it's like the big bad of the film, and it's the one that is trying to hunt down Claire and Maisie and Owen at the end of the movie and everything. And it's just, and of course, and then Blue comes in again to save the day. It's just, I don't know. This,
Oh man, that was definitely a Deus Ex Machina. Like the blue came out of nowhere.
yeah, 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 I
Blue
agree.
came out of the blue.
Blue came out of the blue, saves the day. Yeah, yeah,
Oh, and Rafe Spall
yeah.
as Eli Mills. They did not do a very good job of trying to they weren't even trying to subvert expectations. Like the moment he shows up on
You know he's
screen,
bad.
you
Right,
know he's the
exactly.
villain.
Yep.
Like without question. That
Yeah.
I think what could have improved that is maybe if they had cast someone who we wouldn't necessarily think of as the villain. Kind of like how they did with Anthony Perkins in Psycho. Like he had
Right,
been
right,
before that, he had been known for playing the nice guy, and
right,
then they cast him as this psychopathic murderer.
right.
I think I thought that was great. Maybe they could have done that with this movie. If you were gonna try to make us think that he wasn't the villain, don't cast somebody that looks villainy. Like and the thing is, it's like he's not like a maniacal, like malicious type villain. He just
Right.
has like he has this punchable face. Like
That's hilarious.
as soon as you see him, he's annoying. That's nothing against Rafe Spall. It's just
No, no. It means
the
he played it well.
yeah. It means he played it well, but it's you can tell that they were trying to make us like this guy, but
Right.
it's like come on. I can see it coming a mile away.
Yeah. I was just thinking, it was if they had like obviously Chris Pratt was already in this movie, but if they had cast somebody like Chris Pratt to play the character, then I think it would have been a bit more of a surprise when we find out that he was the bad guy behind getting all the dinosaurs off the island and because Lockwood wanted the dinosaurs off the island, he was going to put them on another island that Lockwood owned and let them just live their lives out, no human interaction, no tourists. But that's not what Rafe Spall's character had in mind. And Rafe Spall's character, Eli, he was like essentially an accountant, I guess, right? He was like in charge of handling Lockwood's money or estate. Uh, I guess. I don't know. I don't know. And then like the fact that here's another what was it?
Brachiosaurus Rex.
Yeah, no, so good. Another one of those moments is, and I know Lockwood is wheelchair bound and stuff, but like Rafe Spall's character had all those cages and everything built into Lockwood's house without him knowing. Like there would be construction workers and like all these, like for months to get all those
Right.
cages and everything. And like the whole cage that's like on a track that brings it in like down a runway, like a like a fashion show for the
Mhm.
bidding and then goes back. Like that's
Mhm.
elaborate. And
Like
Lockwood has
you didn't hear that? Like you didn't hear all that construction? You didn't
yeah.
hear the contractors coming in? Were you sedated or something?
Right, exactly. You can only work when Lockwood's asleep. It's just yeah. Okay, let's go back a little bit because this scene's on my TV and I want to talk about this. They have to get blood from the T-Rex in order to help the Velociraptor Blue. How's that work again?
It doesn't.
It doesn't. It doesn't work.
Like who like I refuse to believe that
Yeah.
Colin Trevorrow was one of the writers on this. I refuse to believe it.
Well,
There's no
I
way that
can't.
there's no way that you go from Jurassic World, which is the greatest movie, but the
Right.
step the leap from Jurassic World to Fallen Kingdom is monumental.
Yeah. Well, there were other writers on Jurassic World that are not a part of this movie. Rick Jaffa and Amanda Silver, I think, who also did like Rise of the Planet of the Apes. I feel like
Oh,
they're pretty good
yeah.
writers.
Yeah,
And
they
I
are. They did Avatar, Way of Water.
oh, they did? Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
So
They
they're
actually
not a
did
part of
they're doing all the sequels too.
oh wow, nice. Good for them. They're not a part of this. And so I don't know if they were the key ingredient to the first film. I don't
You
know.
know what? You're right because you're at that is a very plausible theory because a lot of their movies are environmentalist type uh animal rights type movies. You know, the Planet of the Apes,
Yeah.
Avatar, Way of Water, Jurassic World. They all have very similar themes. While they're all tonally different, the themes are consistent, and that that writing the way that they handle those themes was very much needed in this movie because again there are so many really good thematic nuggets inside of this movie, but it just needed the right person or the right writers to flesh it out.
Yeah. And I still have not seen Dominion. I'll probably check it out maybe now that we've watched this one again. But well, I just I want to watch the director's cut, but it's 2 hours and 40 something minutes, and I don't know when I'll have the time. But
Watch that director's cut, man.
don't or do.
Don't.
Oh, watch the
I haven't.
theatrical version.
I haven't seen it, but I highly doubt that it is an improvement.
Well, I don't know. I mean, I do want to kind of watch both because I want to compare. But again, then that would be even more time. And so if I had to choose, I figured I'd choose the longer one. But you were saying, there's no way Colin Trevorrow was actually like a part of this,
Mm-hmm.
And I was gonna say that I have not seen it, so I can't say with any certainty. But Dominion, from what I've heard, is equally not as good, or also just not as. I don't know if it's worse than this movie or better than this movie. I don't know, but I've heard it's not good. And he directed that one, co-wrote that one, so he just for whatever reason I guess took the franchise in the wrong direction, perhaps. And then he came out later and said basically what we have said on the podcast, which is the Jurassic Park franchise really just shouldn't have any sequels. It should just be Jurassic Park.
You know what? I'm starting to see why people say what they say about the movie industry in regards to superhero movies and the MCU having an effect on the industry as a whole.
Yeah.
It feels like these uh, Fallen Kingdom and Dominion in particular, they feel like dinosaur movies within the MCU. So they're trying to uh match that feel
Yeah.
of a superhero movie because the industry is I wouldn't necessarily say saturated with superhero movies, but it's a lot of them coming out.
Yeah, a lot
Um,
more than 20 years ago and stuff like that. So,
yeah, before it was like one or two a year. Now it's like maybe four or five.
right.
Um, but yeah, these a lot of movies now feel like they're trying to uh emulate or imitate the the style and the structure of the MCU. Everything has a cinematic universe now, and
Yep.
everything has to be fun, and now all these movies have to have spectacle now, and it just and I'm not bashing the MCU
Sure.
because
Yeah, I know.
I love the MCU. I
Yeah.
love the MCU. But let the MCU be the MCU. Don't
Right.
don't bring that to Jurassic Park.
Right.
And that's exactly what they did.
Yeah.
And it
Well, and
didn't work
also
out.
they
Like
they
don't
almost went farther with it because you were talking about you know, everything's got a shared universe or whatever now.
mm-hmm.
They almost Universal almost lost their mind because they were talking about crossing over the Fast and Furious franchise with the Jurassic World franchise. There was supposedly going to be a movie with, I'm assuming, Dom Toretto and his family fighting dinosaurs. I don't know. I don't know exactly where that was going to go, but thank God that fell apart because that would have been Michael Crichton could not roll over in his grave anymore if that had happened. I mean, that was like the worst news I'd ever read when I read that Universal was going to do that.
See, the thing is, the natural thing to do, even though they're two different studios, the natural thing to do would be Fast and Furious and Transformers. Just put Dom
Right,
Toretto
right.
inside Optimus Prime and call it a day.
right.
I'd go
Right.
see that movie.
Yeah, of course, yeah. But you're right, yeah. Unfortunately, two different studios, so they'd have to. I mean, it's not unheard of, I guess, but it would be. I'm sure the red tape would be difficult there. But I want to know what studio executive or studio whatever went into an office one day and said, "Well, what if we took the Fast and Furious franchise and mixed it with Jurassic World?" And somebody else went, "Yes." Like I
I
don't
mean,
understand.
they had to been doing a few lines that day.
Yeah. And then they read the news like 3 days later and they were like, "Oh my God, what were we thinking? Scrap that. Scrap that." No, they probably were thinking, yeah, well, they probably were doing lines. And then as they were like coming up with these ideas, they were like, "These are $1 billion ideas." They thought they were going to make all the money in the world when no, that would have,
No, now, hey, no, now listen. As ridiculous as it sounds, I guarantee that movie would have made $1 billion.
it probably actually would have,
That
sadly.
definitely
It
would have
probably
made a
actually would
billion
have.
dollars because at that point, people are just going to see it to see how ridiculous it is.
Right. Yeah. I feel like that's how I mean, that's as much as I like the Fast and Furious franchise as well. I feel like that's where it's getting to. People are going to
Absolutely,
see those movies now just to see how ridiculous they are.
absolutely. With Fast Nine, F9, um, the only reason they went to space is because fans said the next thing they're going to do is go
Uh,
to
Go
space.
to space. Yeah.
You tell me that they had that planned out and they were going to do
No.
that anyway. They only did that because the fans said that.
Right. Yeah, I agree.
Like they're literally Fast and Furious has become fan fiction. They're literally making letting the fans make the movie. And there are some fans saying that the next movie is going to be time travel, and I would not put it past them.
I wouldn't put it past them either. Come a long way from that first film, huh?
Yeah, yeah, definitely a long way from that first film. Because like I not to get too off subject, but I do want to
Sure.
say this. The thing about that franchise, it that the Fast franchise died when Paul Walker passed away.
Yeah, I
That should have
agree.
been the last movie because F I didn't like Fate of the
Fate of the
Furious.
Furious. Yeah,
I thought it was a boring superhero movie, like a boring convoluted superhero movie within the Fast universe.
yeah,
And then F9 is again a Saturday morning cartoon.
yeah, yeah. I no, I'm 100% agree with you. I because like they were already ridiculous. Fast and Furious 6, which is probably my favorite, is ridiculous. I can acknowledge that. And seven,
It's good ridiculous
it's
though.
good ridiculous though. Yeah, I agree. And seven is has good ridiculous moments, and it ends really well with Paul Walker. They had to kind of he died while they were making it. Right, it was like in production,
Mm-hmm.
so they had like his brother kind of be a stand-in. So they did some digital stuff, and it ends really well. And that is where the franchise should have ended. That was a
Like
great
they
ending to that
literally rode
series.
off into the sunset. Like
Right, exactly.
it,
So Fate of the Furious, Hobbs and Shaw, F9. Hobbs and Shaw at least is, since it's kind of a spin-off, feels it's similar but different. But yeah, Fate of the Furious and F9, they both were ridiculous in my opinion, and not as good as 6 and 7. So yeah, I have low expectations for 10. And it needs to end with 10. That's enough Fast and Furious movies.
definitely it should definitely end with 10, but they're not they're not
As
gonna
long as they
end
keep
it.
making money, they're going to keep making them, I'm sure. Yeah.
Right.
All right. Well, let's go back to Jurassic World for a second and talk about I want to talk about Maisie actually. So Maisie is introduced as Lockwood's granddaughter, and we are told that his daughter died in a car accident. And we find out later that Maisie is actually a clone of Lockwood's daughter. Now, you called her a dinosaur clone. Do they mention it's like I mean obviously it was they do say that Hammond and Lockwood were partners or whatever, and what drove them apart was this. So Hammond was wanting to clone dinosaurs, and Lockwood pretty much was only interested in cloning dinosaurs so he could figure out how to clone a human. And it is what drove them apart. I don't like that retcon either. I don't like the whole. I know they
Hate it.
needed that eccentric billionaire kind of character. I guess I don't know if you need it or not, but Richard Attenborough has passed away, so they can't have John Hammond in these movies. So they have Lockwood, and then they have to come up with a story about how Hammond and Lockwood were. It's just I don't know. I don't like it either.
You didn't need Lockwood. They only did that for to set up Maisie. Lockwood was
Right,
unnecessary. Other than that,
right. Now, does the idea of that they are now cloning humans bring any? Does it add anything to the story for you?
it would have if again the tone if they had taken it a little bit more seriously and introduced that plot point later in another movie. There was no because that's a big deal, but there was
Yeah,
no build up to it, like none.
there was no build up to it, and then there was nothing afterwards really mattered either. Like the only thing that I would say that kind of maybe thematically connected Maisie to the movie was when she lets the
Let the
dinosaurs out at
dinosaurs
the end.
loose, yeah.
And she's like, they deserve to live. Like, I can't remember what her line
And
is,
that
but
that listen, that's another thing that pissed me off because this is another thing that makes me think that they did this on purpose. They had Claire
yeah,
about to hit the button and let the dinosaurs out.
right,
And uh Owen is looking at her like, come on, you're not that stupid. Please don't do this.
right.
So she comes to her senses like a smart human being and doesn't press the button. And then they ruin a good decision with the worst possible decision you could have possibly made within this universe. And they only did that to set up the next movie.
Right.
There were so many other ways that you could have had the dinosaurs let loose on the world.
Yeah.
But they chose to have the little girl press the button and let them out on purpose, knowing that the dinosaurs were going to take over the world. I don't
Right.
care that she's a little girl. She knew exactly what she was doing. She knew that these dinosaurs were going to ruin the world, trample all over people, eat
Kill
people.
people. Yep.
She
Well,
knew.
that's what I was gonna say. Owen should have had that. Like she, I wish I could remember what her line is, but she says something like, you know, they're. Oh, I think that's what it is. She says like they're alive, like I am, or something like that, like me.
Oh my God.
And
I
then
roll and a half.
yeah, Owen should have said like, well, now there's a lot of other people out there who are dead because of you. You know, like, you've
Right.
killed a lot of people because you let these dinosaurs out into the wild.
That's ridiculous decision after
Yeah.
ridiculous decision. A whole lot of preposterous Rex.
Yes, I agree. I don't have too much else to talk about, but I do want to talk about the score a little bit. Michael Giacchino. I think his music is pretty good in this movie. However, I don't find it as memorable as the first Jurassic World.
I 100% agree. This is the first Michael Giacchino score that I've listened to in a while that I said, this cool.
Yeah, it's and I don't know, maybe that's the fault of J.A. Bayona, the director. Maybe he had Giacchino do certain, I don't know. It just there's one moment where we kind of hear that theme from the first Jurassic World that I was talking about in that episode that I liked so much.
Yeah.
Other than that, it feels very generic.
Regular. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, it didn't do much for me, which is crazy because Michael Giacchino is amazing, and
Oh, they
maybe
reminded
he
me
wasn't all
of,
that impressed with this movie either, and wasn't inspired. Who knows?
you know what it reminded me of? It is the musical equivalent of Ruffles chips.
Please elaborate.
Ruffles chips are not they're not great, but they're not nasty. They're just
Right,
they're just there.
right.
So
That's awesome.
see the thing about Ruffles
Uh huh.
is that they only exist for the dip. That's why they have Russell. That's why they have Ruffles.
That is entirely accurate. You don't. I mean, you can eat Ruffles by themselves, I guess, but
How do you do that? I've
you are
never
going to
ever seen a person eat plain Ruffles by itself.
You always have the dip.
You have the dip. And
Yeah.
this score is the equivalent of that. You like
It's just
I will never listen to this score by itself. I probably and it's very hard to listen to it during the movie because the movie is not good. So you got these plain chips with this nasty dip.
That's what Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom is. It's plain Ruffles with expired French onion dip.
Yeah.
That's pretty gross. I have one last note. It's not really a nitpicky thing. It's not even really a complaint. It's just something I noticed and I don't know how I feel about it. But there are QR codes on the dinosaur eggs. I noticed it twice. There's one time when Maisie kind of sneaks down into the lab and she's watching videos of Owen with the baby velociraptors. But she like passes by dinosaur eggs and there's QR codes on the dinosaur eggs. And then I saw it again towards the end of the film when I forget if BD Wong, I think it's when BD Wong is trying to gather up stuff and he's yelling at Justice Smith to get something, and I'm pretty sure they pass by some eggs and there's QR codes on the eggs. I guess it's to tell you what dinosaur it is. I don't know. It just seemed kind of weird to me, and I wasn't sure how I felt about it.
That is weird.
Yeah. Well, Stu, I am very curious to hear what your rating is, because I have a feeling it might be pretty low. Might be. I don't know. I don't think either of us have given anything like 1 star yet, or half a star or something. But and maybe this isn't the movie, but I'm just curious what your rating will be.
I think you might be right. I think the lowest that at least that I think that I gave was 1.5, and that was
Ghost Rider?
Ghost Rider. Yeah.
Spirit of Vengeance? Yeah.
Well, since we brought that up, I do believe that it is not quite as bad as Ghost Rider Spirit of Vengeance.
I agree.
However, it's not much better.
Yeah.
I'm going to give it 2 rotten dinosaur eggs out of 5. I was originally going to give it 2.5, but
yeah,
the more we got deeper into the pod, the lower my score went. So it definitely warranted that, dropping it half a star, because like I said, there are some really good ideas in this movie that could have been expanded upon and turned into a great movie.
Yeah.
But they just it really feels like they made these poor decisions deliberately, and that is quite offensive to me. I'm inclined to lower it again, but I won't do that.
Yeah.
I'm gonna give it an objective 2 out of 5, but subjectively it's probably like a half star.
I don't think I hate it quite as much as you do, but I think our ratings are going to be pretty similar, just because I think if you were to look at my Letterboxd, I probably already gave it 2.5.
Mm-hmm.
But again, with this conversation and watching it, this is the 3rd time I've watched it, and it also it slows down once they get off the island. Like, I remember when the Indoraptors introduced, I was thinking like, oh yeah, we're getting close to the end of the movie, and I look at it and you still got like half an hour left or something, and you're just like, what?
Mm-hmm.
It's just, it feels long. But I think that the first half of the film, for the most part, is still kind of an enjoyable ride.
Yeah.
And so for that, I think I'm not going to go low. I'm going to give it 2 as well. I'm going to give it 2 QR coded dinosaur eggs. But I do feel like it could easily be a 1.5 or a 1-star movie. But I think, I'm going to be a little nicer to it, just because there are those nuggets that we kind of enjoy. And I'm real curious now as to what will give Dominion when I watch it. But that one we'll have to do an episode here in a little while on Dominion to round out the franchise and see what we feel about it. But yeah, that's, it's a movie that I could see myself popping in. This one, Fallen Kingdom, I could see myself popping it in and watching the first half and then turning it off. Because that's the only good stuff in the movie, and even that's not great, but at least it's better than the second half of the movie. Is this one worse than Jurassic Park 3? Probably.
Yes.
I really don't like Jurassic Park 3, but I think I would rather watch Jurassic Park 3 than watch this movie.
I agree. I would definitely rather watch Jurassic Park 3.
Yeah. So yeah, I think this is the worst film of the Jurassic Park franchise so far. Can't say with certainty because of Dominion. Yeah, exactly.
Just you wait.
Great. Well, we'd love to know what you think about Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom. You can always let us know at cinemaheroes.com. You can also tweet at us or drop a comment on our Instagram. Both handles are at cinemaheroes. If you're watching this on YouTube, you can always leave a comment below. If you're watching this on YouTube, give this video a thumbs up. Subscribe to our channel if you haven't already. Tell your friends about us. We'd love to hear from you any way you want to reach out to us. But I think that about wraps it up for this episode. I'm Justin Speck.
Jake Stu.
As always, thanks for listening. Thanks for subscribing.